Well, first of all, I want to thank you for coming out for lunch, taking your lunch break with me, and I want to thank Haley and the group that put this together, because I think it's a very worthwhile endeavor. Anytime you can assemble a group and that's involved, we're all in it together. So anytime we can do those kinds of things, it's just going to help the community. Okay, that's the way I feel about things. I will. You'll excuse me, but I read stuff. Excuse me, and I've been nursing a cold. No COVID. Okay, don't worry about it. But so I'll cough occasionally and stuff like that, and I appreciate your indulgence with that, because I am at the tail end of that, getting over that. But I will be reading it because I want to be sure that I cover all the points that I want to make before I open it up for some questions. Normally, you want to speak directly to the folks, and that's what makes the big difference. In this case, there's a lot of material that I want to be a little more specific on things. So I'll give you the report as I would if I'm presenting it to the newspaper, for instance. My name is Luis. They call me Louie, and you can call me Louie. I have a lot of folks call me both ways, and I answer to both of them. I was born and raised here in Artesia. My wife is Aida's from Artesia as well. We have a son, 2 grandkids. They live in Albuquerque. I just retired 2 or 3 years ago for the National Park Service, Carlsbad Caverns, and I have about 37 years with the federal government as a field biologist. So after I finished my stint working across 8 different states in the Southwest, we decided to come back home. We love Artesia. All our families, both sides of the families, are all here, including all my siblings. We all ended up returning back here from various states and countries that we lived in before. I just want to share a little bit of some of my experience real briefly. Most of you probably know most of it, but I was elected to the city council the first time, 2005, and I served a term I was appointed to complete a term for Mr. Jimmy Latta at the time. He couldn't complete his, so the mayor appointed me to that position, and then I finished up the 3 years. And then at that time, my job transferred me to Denver to a regional position over there, where I was in charge of 88 national parks. And after finishing about 4 years of that, we had to come back for our family health issues. Our folks that we had to take care of come back here and do some taking care of our folks. So we returned back to Artesia. I got back on the council and finished up in 2016, 2020. Worked another 4 years with the city council. From the city council, I went to the school board for the last 5 years and finished up in 2021 with the school board. So some of the things that I accomplished when I was on the council and on the school board are we approved, okay? And we're always hesitant on the councilors that are here from the city council. We're always hesitant to say, I did this or I did that, because all we did was vote to approve things. But we were all on the same page, and that's what we do. But we got the law enforcement center situated here. It was going to be placed in Carlsbad, and we negotiated, did whatever goes on in those things, and we were able to locate our law enforcement complex here in Artesia. We also did the Martin Luther King skate park, and the splash pool, and approved the Fletsy water line down Ritchie Street for Fletsy. And those are just a couple of them. There are probably 5 or 6 other items that the council did. We also, on the school board, I was very proud to serve on the school board. We did over probably by now over 100 projects on that 5-year tenure, and our new superintendent, by the way, Mr. Thad Phipps, is in the audience, who can tell you it's just a big list of projects that we did for all the schools, from replacing roofs to new ventilation systems to installing the latest state-of-the-art active shooter gunshot detection systems. We were the first to do that in the state. And I'm so proud because it was the administration that did all that, okay? But once we saw a need, we jumped right on it and tackled it and installed all those systems, and also the required special, I don't know what you call it, but the fixing the doors so that someone can't just walk in and start shooting at kids. It would be very difficult to reach a kid now. You go through the first hall into the vestibule and before you can even go. So we did a lot of those things, and I'm very proud because these guys just tackled it right off the bat. So I'm proud of that. Also, as a member of the school board, I was very fortunate, and thanks to Sandra Borges for, at that time, inviting me to participate on the aquatics committee to get the aquatic center established. And it was an interesting learning experience for me. All these are educational experiences, okay? I don't go in thinking I know anything. I go in with an open mind, and I come out with 10 times more than I thought. And there was a lot of good work and positive work and communication that it took to get that accomplished. And also, of course, my personal thanks to our good friend, Mr. Yates, for that. So that's kind of the accomplishments, some of my work experience and what I've done. So the next question would be, what's my primary motivation for running for mayor? Most sane people would say, that's not a good idea. It doesn't pay well. All those things you've probably already heard. What it is that I want unity back in our community. It's been a very trying time. We have a legacy. We have the City of Champions. And it's being threatened, in my opinion, by issues pushed by the larger cities. Okay, these issues are dividing the community. As your mayor, my mission for the city would be first and foremost to continue to provide a safe environment for our citizens. We have in place a strong community-based public safety approach. Our police, fire, and EMS departments are top-notch. We must maintain morale and retention by doing some competitive salaries and benefits. And our goal should be to improve all city services, promote development of affordable housing, and maintain quality infrastructure. The vision I have for the city is one of unity because I truly love our community. This recent time when our country has gone through this turbulent period, from natural disasters that, just over and over, storms and floods and all that going on, pandemics to political protests and riots, it's been unsettling for America, including our community. Many lives were lost, many jobs were lost, schools were closed. Almost overnight, families become shut-ins and kids were homeschooled. Our youth and seniors alike took the brunt of these problems. This trauma created unrest and our community is becoming divided. I strongly believe we can come together as a community. There's nothing we cannot accomplish if we work together. And if we focus on doing what is best for all the community, we can't let big city problems way across in the east and come get started here. We're the city of champions and we need to strive to work together for the common good as we have in the past years. I feel these next 4 points are the significant issues facing Artesia today. First one is the police and fire and EMS. Our city desperately needs to provide competitive pay and benefits and ongoing quality training for our first responders. The police and fire departments are short in several positions. We've utilized local foundations, donations to supplement some of this. We should work closely with the foundations to apply the funds where most effective. A survey has been included in this current city budget to determine what other neighboring municipalities pay for their services. These surveys will include our city employees who are also the backbone of our city government. But through cooperative agreements between city, county, sheriff, state police, federal, as in FLETC, all these partners we can cooperate to train our city's first responders in various tasks. By cross-training with other agencies, we can provide up-to-date training in various law enforcement tasks. At any given time, we can work with the county to share resources and save costs. Our police department has been recognized nationally for its excellent training in assault cases investigations. Our fire department has been recognized for significant advances in ambulance and air medical transport services. These are services that are available to all our citizens regardless of their ability to pay. The second item is infrastructure and city properties. The city master plan should be revisited. A plan was written in 2012 and is due to be revised this year, 2022. We'll need to utilize our state legislators to acquire funding for larger projects. However, a general schedule can be established now to begin repairs to deteriorating infrastructure. If needed, outsourcing the repairs can be done while city crews proceed with less technical projects. The Artesia Recreation Center should be looked at to determine all the possibilities for utilizing it. Can it be possible that we use it as a startup site for Boys and Girls Club to get started? Let's think outside of the box. We must continue to assist our volunteer groups such as Artesia Clean and Beautiful and others who help care and improve our city. Our city councilors should work with their constituents to create Friends of Parks teams to help pick up occasional litter at our parks and conduct other helpful community events. For example, my wife and I take our grandkids on walks along Eagle Draw. We love that park. While we're walking, we take some of those Walmart grocery bags, but they make good small-sized little trash bags for the kids and we give them some plastic gloves or rubber gloves, and on our little walk, we just make it a kind of a little contest, see how much trash you can pick up. Because I don't care how many times you visit the park, the wind blows once in Artesia and you'll have McDonald's wrappers, cans, bottles, everything scattered in our parks. And yes, we have city crews that can do it, and they do it. But I'm telling you, this is a daily thing that it's something that we can all be involved in. And we should. It's our community. It's our park. And that's what we do. That's what my family does. Anyway, it teaches the kids that littering makes the parks look ugly. And kids are really like little sponges, and they just absorb that, and they don't want that. Anyway, bottom line, we try to teach them to appreciate all the parks in our city. The third point is quality of life. I would create a quality of life committee comprised of citizens from each of the councilors' districts. Our seniors, our youth, our veterans, and other interested citizens should be asked to participate. Quality of life means different things to different folks. Surveys would be conducted to determine what quality of life items the community would like to have. Some of my exciting options for that kind of stuff would be to reopen the movie theater. I don't know much about running a movie theater, but I still like to go to movie theaters, and my wife and I used to enjoy it very much to go in there and buy that, get about 5-gallon tub, a pretty good size thing of popcorn. And maybe add some additional restaurants around town, which are springing up, by the way. I'm very thankful for that. I've always felt the Chamber of Commerce can partner with the city to attract additional businesses and spark economic development in our community. Larger tax events such as balloons and tunes and the car shows and stuff like that bring tourists in. Hopefully we can get the beds in the head philosophy in here so we could get the hotels some business to get it really going again. Ocotillo Performing Arts Center, I love that place. Offers spectacular performances by awesome performers. Our Senior Citizens Center offers over 30 different activities each week. Over 400 senior citizens participate in those activities. That's a surprising number. People probably don't realize that. I am a senior, so I'm aware of it because I go there to play music because I volunteer for their music nights. We have a band that offers that. Our recreation center was offering 37 activities pre-COVID with 3,144 participants. It's just now starting to get back up again, and I think the last number was they're at about 1,143 folks that have participated through this past December. The aquatic center is getting some use as well. The district championship was just, swimming championship was just hosted there on February the 5th. And Artesia placed third overall. I think the swim team took, the girls team took 7 out of 11 medals. Awesome. 160 athletes, 40 officials, and there were about 200 spectators. So that's an excellent use of that. And it's gradually building up again as it gets warmer. But something I learned, and was visiting with the superintendent, is that so many things, I don't have all the statistics, but the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders are being given swimming lessons. Because during this period that we're shut down, kids weren't learning how to swim. What good is a pool without having people that know how to swim? So they took it upon themselves to set up these swimming classes so 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders go get swimming lessons here at the aquatic center. I thought that was super cool. And the various other sports, not just the swim team, but the football players, the basketball players, the baseball players, all these go there for different type of, I don't know if they'd be called isometrics or what kind of exactly, but swimming helps certain muscles and that kind of stuff. So they go and actually utilize that for that reason. So that's, and I mention those things because I'm telling you what we already have, okay? There's just so many areas that we could take another look at and utilize them instead of thinking that we need to create another spectacular big old park, with all this fancy stuff. These offer opportunities because I'm proud of what has been accomplished by the city so far. I really am. I will get to the next one, affordable housing. Before I get too far. After mentioning the schools, I do want to say that one of my first tasks would be to assign a liaison with the schools. When I went on the school board, I was still on the tail end of the city council. I still had a year or so, and that's when I went ahead and took the school board to win the schools. And it worked beautifully, and I learned so much. But I also learned that we were out of touch with what's going on in the school. The city council was a little out of touch with what's going on with the school. And so that's what I would do right off the bat. It said, assign ask one of the counselors who wants to be the liaison. Go sit in on the meetings, tell us what the schools are needing. This came into play, and believe me, there's always something that will prompt, and I'm sure you guys have had these aha moments. Mine was, when I was going to the football game, we always park over there at the Holly office at that shopping center. Walk across Main Street right there. Well, after a couple of near misses by the traffic, you're going to the game or you're coming back from the game, but traffic, is going down Main Street. I said, we can't be doing this. Someone's going to get hurt. And I told Mr. Phipps, and it was taken care of immediately. And that's what relationships we should have, that we can call anybody. Anybody in this room we should be able to call and say, Christy, Christy's on the school board now. I say, can you help me with this? And if you don't have the answer right away, you could say, I don't know that, if we can do that yet. Or Mr. Phipps, I could call him, but I can at least check into it for you. That's the relationships that I personally enjoy and want to have with everyone in this room. That's the way it should be. We're a small enough community that we probably should know almost everybody here, or we probably know their kids. It's that kind of thing, how you learn people's families. Oh, who's your mom? See a little kid. Well, who's your mom? So it's, oh, okay, So that's the kind of communication that I would like to strive for. Affordable housing. There are several fixer-uppers around town that can be cleaned up, refurbished, purchased for a fair price. Apartments such as Roseland Manor are also possibilities to utilize. There are several new homes coming up in the community for sale. And the city has acquired several vacant lots around that would be perfect for construction of housing. Probably, in my opinion, best suited for Habitat for Humanity. They do excellent work with those kinds of things. I took a ride the other day with, it's been a while, and Linda Stevens is not in, and I didn't see Nancy in the audience, Nancy Turkney. They took me for a ride to show me just what some of the trashed out areas are in the community. You know, we ride the alleys and all over the place and stuff. You know, junk cars, kind of on the outskirts of town, but still junk cars parked. And I have to be the first one to confess that I have a car, and some might consider it junked, but it's not really. It's in the process of remodeling. It's an old Toyota truck that we're fixing up. It just, folks have, again, different values for different quality of life. But joking aside, there were areas, the weeds were real tall. City couldn't get to it because of COVID. And but as soon as they could, it was knocked down, the weeds. But I agreed with those two ladies that there are places that need attention. And it's just that those periods of time that keep us from working. See, I'm not making excuses. I'm telling you the truth because I've been there. And what I'm saying is that some of this stuff, you know, reflects on past councils, okay? And the question I would ask is, how far back do we want to go to say it was that administration's fault? You know, Mayor Thompson, or how far back? Because each one of those folks and each one of those administrations, including the two councils that I sat on, and including the school board that I sat on, has accomplished something. Yes, there were issues, there were problems, but at the end of that, there was something positive that happened that kept moving Artesia forward. That's what I want to say about that. I'm not pointing a finger either way. What I'm saying is that Artesia still manages to pull together, just like the teams do when they go play. We haven't taken every state championship, we've taken 30. And it's been because didn't get it this time, we'll get it next year. That philosophy that you never give up. You never give up. Look, we're the same folks. I'm just another year older. But I still have the same heart for that. Anyway, I guess getting back to my topic is that whether it's Habitat for Humanity or using community block development grants for building on some of these larger areas, the city's involvement, I don't think, okay, this is my opinion, is that I don't think that the city wants to get involved in owning properties. In fact, when I was on the council and we had a vacant lot that was had to be cleared off because it had been condemned and it was cleared off, and then what do we do with the vacant lot? As soon as we could, we got it off of the books. I mean, very reasonably priced. We just said, look, how much are we out of it for doing demolition and removing all that? I don't know, we're 10 grand, okay, well, we don't, the city just does not want to be in that business. And we don't want to be, we recently had public housing, forgot who ran it, but the public housing, not Abo Apartments, but the other one.
Housing authority.
Housing authority, I'm sorry. Thank you. And so, but even that was too much to manage, okay? And ended up, we decided to turn over the management of it, it's a federally funded thing, to the Roswell, who has several units and who were more up to date on that. That's what we did. There were people that wanted to keep it here. I mean, it didn't affect how we lease out the spacers or rent out. It didn't affect that. It was just the overall management. You do not want to get have issues of financial or the books don't match. You don't want to get ever that casts a very negative look on a community, on the city, right? And let me tell you, just for your information, when you go through these audits, whether you're on the city council or whether you're on the school board, and you go through audits and things don't match up, okay, the better you are, the higher grade you get. A, A plus, and all that. And those ratings that they give you, the auditors, how they help is that your insurance rates go down for the city, your liability goes down. All those things are good things. When you're borrowing money from the state to build something, they charge you less because you're not a liability. They know the city is good for its money, for its work. Okay, that's how that works. That's just for your information, so you see why it's important. We try to take care of those. Basically, to get back to that, the larger lots can be incentivized. If we wanted to do building, would be, I think it's best suited for Rob and the shop. If there are contractors out there that want to build large complexes out there, and if they're attracted to that, how the city would work with that is to offer to build the infrastructure for that. We could put the water lines and the sewer lines and everything up to the property and then let the contractor build whatever type homes, okay? But there's different places around here, and an example, the superintendent had to leave early, so I can't ask him directly, but we have several. The school board has teachers, they call them. They're houses that have been refurnished, and they let them go to new teachers at a very reasonable rate till they get started, and after 2 or 3 years, they go and get their own place or can afford to buy or have one built, whatever they decide. And that might be an idea for doing that. But there, again, the pros and cons of the city getting involved in buying or building anything, because we've had these discussions before, and we would be competing with contractors and other people that are in that business, that are in the real estate market, and the city doesn't want to do that. We don't compete with our own folks, but we can help where we're needed. One final point, and then I'll turn it over to questions. But I do want to mention something, because there's been a lot of talk, in the campaign, and I do want to commend the candidates that are here. Excuse me, the candidates that are here and that will listen later. But I think that for the most part, it has been a very decent campaign, okay? Any one of these guys and the other candidates that aren't here, that are mayor candidates, I can consider them my friends. I haven't heard anything directed to me. They've stuck to the issues, and I appreciate that very much, because we don't need that in our community to get it that way. Our neighbors to the north, I heard, theirs isn't going that smoothly. It's really negative. So I thank you guys for just maintaining decency for our community. I've been asked what my vision is, okay? And I gave a little bit on the introduction. But let me read this. First of all, let me give you some definitions, because it's always helpful. People throw vision, plan, strategies, like that. And vision is defined as the ability to think about the future with imagination or wisdom. A plan is a detailed proposal for doing or achieving something. Teamwork is a combined action of a group of people for a common cause. And the leader is the person who leads or commands that group. Okay, Keep those in mind. So I believe in having a vision before you plan, because the difference would be about planning the future with imagination and wisdom. I believe a plan would be more effective once you have your team. Once you have the team assembled, because then you would be able to achieve the vision that you had in mind. And I believe that before you can execute a vision or a plan, you must be able to unite that team so that you would be able to build that teamwork and have them buy into your vision. I believe that a leader would be able to move his team forward, work towards a vision with a plan, and have honest communication and a united effort among all the council. So, without those things, it's not what I want. It's what the community wants. And it'll take every one of the counselors in their districts, new counselors, the old counselors, it doesn't make any difference. They're going to have to ask their folks, what's your quality of life? What do you want to see done? Where's the city need to do some work, whether it's trash, getting behind the trash, or mowing the parks, or just any number of things. That's their job. The mayor's job is just to take care, bringing these all together and say, okay, let's sit down, guys and gals. What do we need to do? Who do we need to sue to see get this resolved? That's really what it's about. I'm one guy, and yeah, I see the same things you guys do, but it's not going to be me. It's really the council and how they want to work with the mayor. Okay. And I've done all that. I believe in the community so much, and I believe I can be that leader. I'm not afraid to approach anybody. I think everybody here knows me. There's no secrets. They know my 3 qualities about me is that what's important: faith, my family, and community. Those 3 things are what drive me. Okay, so it's not a question of having integrity or anything. It's going to be what you get. Because if you get a new council after this election, I'll tell you what's going to take. And anybody that's been on the council, and you remember your first year, you go to a lot of training. You get trained up. You get, it takes you about the first year to finally get your wheels under you. Jared might attest to that. I mean, of course, and maybe that was an exception. It took me a little bit longer. I asked probably a lot more questions than the average person, but I do. But I know it takes up time to get up to speed. So you would have a new council, you're going to have to get them time. And if it's a new mayor, they go to mayor school just like anybody else. Okay, so I would do the same thing. Anyone would. And then you get together and you say, okay, guys, what do your districts want? Because I really want participation. It hasn't always been that way. I would be the first to say that. I've served under 3 mayors. The tail end of Mayor Manuel Madrid, if you all recall Mr. Madrid, good friend. Mayor Birch and Mayor Miller. So I know that they have different styles. And then the council has to work with them, and that's what happens. So you're replacing a lot of them, and you expect these grandiose ideas. It's going to take some time to get started up and going. I just want to throw that's regardless of who is elected, okay? I'm just being honest. I'm just honest. But I definitely feel that I would have the ability to get the folks to work together. I've never had a problem with that. Something else that I want to run before you get, because there might be some budget questions and stuff like that, and I don't have the whole budget in front of me, because it takes my time. But what I do have is that telling you that the latest amount that we have the reserves is 24,902,000. And the city burns roughly about 1.5 million per month, okay? Which is about 18 million. 18 million from about 25. You subtract that, what does that leave you? About 7. If we ever get in a bind, that's what you're burning up. It would last about 4 months. So consider that when you think that there's a lot of extra money somewhere. I guess I'm the one that's saying we still have to be cautious and we have to be frugal and thrifty, but we can do it. I'm sorry.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what about all these weeds that Artesia's complaining about? Well, what's your plans for all that?
For the
weeds?
The weeds?
Yes.
Well, we just learned from Councilor Rodriguez here that we hired a new codes guy. Do you want to address that though?
Last council meeting, we hired a new code enforcement officer because Jesse Dominguez is retiring at the end of the month. So we have to get somebody trained in that. And so it was a tough task because the applicant pool was small, but I'm sure that Jesse does a good job and Cheryl did a good job previously to Jesse, that they will train our new employee up to speed to try to get everybody within code as far as the weeds go.
Okay. So I mean, I knew that he was leaving or about to leave, but yeah, it's right on there. That's like the main complaint is the weeds getting up and they're a hazard. I'm sure is the fire. Eli's still back there, one of the firefighters, but and they don't, they probably see those things and kind of cringe because once it gets started, it could take a house down. So I'm concerned about that, but that's what we'd do. And if when I took that ride, we noticed the weeds, what needs to be done, and I'll mention it to the counselor here and the counselors that are here actually, is that the weeds could be on city property. That I noticed on my little drive-through, and that has to be we're responsible. The city has to do something about it, and we've always who's kind of it's the other guy's job, but when you lose personnel, and I think we have you can correct me if I'm wrong, counselors, but I think we have 200 employees in the city, and we have 41 positions that are short or unfit, and that was one of them. So you start getting thin there, and we need to. Yes, Sandra.
Just changing gears here, I've got to run to another meeting, but I did want to ask you, at the last mayor's forum, you talked about, first responders public safety has been a big topic.
Yes, ma'am.
And you talked about maybe creating some legislation with the county, and can you elaborate on that? And
yes.
Is there another community that has done that? Has there been success with that?
What I meant by that is I may have misspoke in the sense that I used the word legislation because that really is a kind of legal term, like I'm going to Santa Fe to get something done. That's not it. What I meant was more like a cooperative agreement. And I believe, that FLETC, that the county, all these agencies have all kinds of resources that I think, I know that they would share with us. Okay, and wherever we're short police, the county has provided sheriffs that don't mind doing patrols if they needed to. But more than that, I think that they have skills like FLETC teaches. I'm not a police officer, but speaking to friends of mine, Greg Spain is the instructor over there. They teach all kinds of stuff. When you're stopping somebody, those kinds of things. It's just like if you cross-train enough people, whether it's a county guy or if FLETC would agree with us through a cooperative agreement, it's all voluntary. There's nobody like, I'm gonna give you money or have to tell you this. I've done lots of cooperative agreements that work beautifully. A quick example, when I was still working for the federal government, I did one with Eddy County. Okay, what I did was trying to get our parks, the BLM office over there, the Living Desert State Park, Brantley Dam, they had this one type of noxious plant that was coming in. I said, you give whatever you can or loan us equipment so we can take it, clean it out. And that's all they did. It was voluntary. And believe me, it's still in effect today. It's set up at the Carlsbad Soil and Water District. But that's something similar to that. It's just talking to people that have a common problem and resolving it that way, because it's not saying you're required to put any kind of money. And that's what I meant by that, Senator.
Yeah, and I think because we've been losing officers, and it's like, how do how do we keep them here? And and if I was just kind of afraid that if you do pass some type of legislation or some agreement, that they're just not even gonna come work here, that they might just go on to the county where they pay more. And so I think that's my fear. And we need to pay them more. We need to talk about how to keep our officers here, retention, and just public safety is a huge thing. I mean, people don't realize we have 1 or 2 police officers on the streets at any given time. I think people really don't understand.
You're exactly true. That's everything you're saying is true. And the thing is that some of the hard questions is, okay, folks, I don't think it's a secret that we have very benevolent benefactors here that contribute, okay, to keep our police, fire, EMS afloat, competitive, going, okay. I spoke with Chief Hope, and as far as the fire department, he said, they don't lose their guys, their cadets, through that. They've never had any problems with that. It's just getting them here. I don't know how to, and it's a widespread phenomenon. But I agree completely that we have to find something. And I hate to say this because it doesn't make a candidate look good when you say, let's talk about maybe getting a tax from the city. If we're serious and we want to be the top-notch police, fire, EMS, and it takes extra money that we don't have. Okay, right now we're doing well because part of it is because Holly Plant is contributing a lot to the grocery receipts. Okay, that's what's keeping us good. As soon as construction stops, what's it going to look like? What other factors might affect it? Anyway, we need something in the people it'd be putting it out there for the folks to say, look, if we raise one more buck on your property tax for Artesia, would you be okay with that? But we're going to have the best police department, and we can advertise that these guys get like $5, $10 more than anywhere, or the benefits package is like, I mean, it's already like 35%, I believe. Their benefit package is 35% in addition to their salaries. So we're competitive. It's just different things that vary. But I agree with you. And those are some of the hard calls. I'm just putting it out there like it is. I mean, it's not magically going to appear that we're going to get kind of money. But if you tell the folks that, and they believe you that they want the police and fire to be the best, they're going to go with it. Yes, sir.
You said the statement competitive. Without the donations of private citizens that were concerned for the dissolution of public safety, you're operating the lowest paid emergency services for 170 miles in any direction. You've known this for 6 years now, that the pay in the surrounding area is changing. So at least are you ashamed by not addressing the problem before the dissolution of emergency services?
I'm not sure, I would know, it's the last, I mean, I've been on the school board the last 6 years, but I'm not sure I get your question exactly.
The city council has known there's a problem.
Yes,
To the point that a private citizen noticed the problem and stepped in to help the city. It
yes,
still took the city 6 months to accept that help.
okay.
So,
Let me give you some history.
are you ashamed by not addressing
I'm not
emergency
ashamed of
services
anything, sir.
problems sooner?
Everybody knows the decision and why I decide things. But I will answer your question, okay?
Okay.
The thing is that the last 8 years or longer, okay, starting with the oil drop prices, got us in that bind, and I was one of them that voted at that council to cut 10%, okay? To cut 10%. And we weren't proud of that, but I voted along with my other councilors to support that. And then about that time, as we start getting up, COVID hits, and it affects businesses. I'll be the first to tell you, it's horrible. I just said that, stated that. So that's your next issue, okay? So we're in there without the help of our benefactors there. If they had to come in, we'd be in a worse dire state. In fact, it was dropping way, way down, and they kept us afloat. But I mean, no one likes to make those calls. And if you could ask any of the counselors here, but I don't know exactly. I agree that had I had an opportunity to prevent that, you can believe me that I wouldn't have cut anybody's salary. But the questions posed at that time was, look, you can either, each department by department, you can make a list of those with the least seniority are going to be cut. Okay? You have that choice, or everybody gets that 10%. Those were the choices that given to us because we were down very, very low at the time, sir. And that's why we decided to make the cuts, and including the emergency service. And I can't give enough credit to Peyton for stepping up and doing that. He took care of us. But I wasn't the mayor then, so, and we had a different, and I will say this right now, and I think it's been stated by other candidates, that there was no communication to the council, okay? It would be different under me because these guys would get all the information that I get. So we weren't privy to any conversations that were held on, why aren't you doing this? We're told this is what's going to happen, this is what we're doing, we're going down the hole, and so what can we do? You got two choices, you're either going to make across the board cut, or you're going to start off at the bottom, lowest position, till you keep cutting till you reach that magic number to keep us afloat. And that's the story. Yes, ma'am.
So as a citizen of Artesia and a mom of two at the high school, I've been vocal at both the school board meetings and also city council over the last years, bringing my concerns as a parent, the concerns for the kids that I saw, the damage that was happening to them. And unless you've had a child in school, and especially high school, the last couple of years we had a child that graduated, he was 2019, his high school experience has been completely opposite from our girls' experiences in school these last 2 years, very different. So unless you've lived there as a parent and seen that, it's just difficult to compare those. But I brought those concerns in, and every time I was dismissed, I was ignored. Nobody on the board said anything. Nobody in the the city council. I was met with a resounding, "What do you want us to do? Our hands are tied." And although I understand this was an unprecedented time in history, there was a lot of unknown, it just felt like there was nobody standing up and talking to us as citizens. And I know you mentioned the council of having something on the outside, bringing that in. But, I'll just say even on the school board, you never spoke up. Nobody asked me to meet with them and to hear my concerns. It wasn't just mine, I was a voice for many. And it brought a lot of frustration to the parents, to the citizens, and a lot of distrust as well. So what would you see yourself doing outside of the council that you said that you did not do as a school board member that you would do as mayor?
Well, if it's any consolation, I do remember you coming up 3 times.
That was more, I was there every month speaking up, it wasn't 3
Well,
times.
well, I mean, the times that I recall you speaking. But I guess you're asking me to be more vocal in maybe in the meetings. Ms. Crockett's not in, but I was going to ask her what her first few months have felt like. Okay. What I tried to explain when I spoke, and I did speak a couple of times, I didn't speak to you personally, and I apologize that I didn't think, I apologize, because I should have gone and given you my card and said, let's sit down and talk about this, because I know that it hurt you. It hurt you. I could see that on you, and in your voice, and you repeated it. When somebody says something the second time, they mean it, and I understand that. Okay, what it is and what it was, the policy of the school board is there's one person that does the talking. Okay, you'll learn this. I don't mean to use you, but Ms. Crockett will learn that when you go to this training, it's not. That's why things move the way they do, very slow. Okay, but the thing is that the president at the time of the school board and the vice president, and you know who they were, and they do the representation for the board. Okay. What we do when we went to go vote for, like, we joined a lawsuit, right? Okay. We passed a resolution that stated that we wanted local authority in our town. We did that. Okay. All those you do behind closed doors, just like the city council when they were talking about trying to acquire water rights, or if they're trying to buy property, they're going to do it behind closed doors, and they call that executive session. So you don't get to see that, unfortunately. All you see is when we come back outside and say, okay, we're going to make the motion, this is the motion, and this is what we're going to vote. And that's when it's decided. And that's when you see how I voted. But I do not go out, and I would have been happy to visit with you, ma'am. But let me tell you something personally, because I'm all about unity, and I've just talked here about getting our group together and our community together, is that I didn't feel comfortable. I want you to know that the stuff, not necessarily that happened, those 3 meetings, the stuff that happened afterwards, okay? Because that was controlled. We had our school resource officer there, to make sure that people calm down. It was, guys, what happened afterwards is the Facebook stuff about us. You don't know me. I don't know you. But I have a very good impression of you because I know you were very passionate about what you said, and you had those issues. And I don't doubt that. I mean, there's no reason that I would think negatively of you at all. But that was the feeling I left with, and I thought, maybe I better get out of here rather than go up here and confront him, because it was a very tense situation. And I'm telling you the truth. There's nothing for me to hide here, okay? And it was obvious. And so, but I'm apologizing to you because that I should have been the better person and taken you my card and said, Turner, you call me anytime, I'll tell you how I personally feel about something. But when you're in executive session, you discuss all these things. Do we want to join the lawsuit? What's it going to cost us? How is it going to appear? Are we going to lose funding for this? All these that the average person doesn't have to deal with, but we do. And then when we come back, and you see, okay, what's your vote? What's your vote? Votes.
I think overall, it was just, from the mayor, from the city council, from the school board, it was stay small, stay quiet, don't rock the boat, try to keep the governor happy, let's keep our funding. And I just wonder, you know, what does that look like? Because this, I mean, she's shown she'll do it once. If she, God forbid, gets elected again, she'll do it again. Nationally, it'll happen again. So how do we handle that in a different way that doesn't shut kids out of school, that doesn't shut businesses down? And I know you guys can say, look, there's policies that we have to follow, and I get that. But we were the ones that brought the, let's do the lawsuit. At first, it was like, you guys are crazy that you're even bringing that up. We kept bringing it to you guys, and as school board, you finally said, okay, let's do that. There were other things, solutions that we brought to city council or to school board, and overall, it was, let's stay quiet, let's stay small, let's try to keep in her good graces. But I think what we've heard from other candidates, they have clear direction and things that they would do differently. So, like, what do you do differently? Or maybe you agree with some of the state and national policies of how COVID was handled, but I know a lot of people in this community are very tired of that, and we're looking for something different. So what is that different that you bring?
Well, I probably, I think, I'll be honest with you, because I'm certainly not going to start this late in my career telling untruths or something that doesn't match my personality. I've been here too long. My reputation means everything to me, as everybody that's in this room knows. Okay? I listen first, man. And the thing is, if I were mayor, I would still listen to the council. These guys are elected. There are 8 people that are elected by their supporters, and they convey it. I do have my own opinion, and I would say, but 9 times out of 10, I'm going to see what people think first, because I've never been the rogue, go do it, and then get in trouble. Why? Because I was born and raised here. First of all, I was taught in the school system here that said these are the rules. And when you're playing on sports, or if you're playing in band, I was a band, I wasn't a musician, I wasn't a sports guy in junior high, but not a football player, okay? But you just follow the rules, and it's because that's what we were taught. So it's hard for me to go against policy, a law, and during that period, and I know you're aware of it. You're probably more on top of things than I am recalling those times. But the Floyd district, when they removed every one of those school board members, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. And
But they won that battle.
They did win it. They stood up. They were the example.
yes,
to the
but
rest of
during
the
that
city.
period, yes, sir.
Backed off.
During that period, though, they were
We didn't give
without
them any
board.
help. We didn't give them any help, but they won that battle and they didn't lose any money. They re-elected their school board members.
A
You know,
lot of people were looking to Artesia.
I'm not criticizing you, but I'm.
No, I
The
know.
board, and
I
it was after that.
Yes, sir.
Lawsuit, when community came together, as I remember, a bunch of others, and then you guys decided to back with Gallup.
Yes.
It was fighting,
Right.
yeah, which is a good thing, I'm glad you did, but.
No, I know what you're saying.
Leadership on that Floyd thing,
Well-
and this is what I think she's talking about,
Yes, sir.
is the concern, where in the world were our community leaders when the town is suffering? You can go to Walmart, but you can't walk into a store downtown. Where was our mayor? Where was everybody? Why weren't they saying, we don't like this? Granted, they might lose, but where were they? And I think maybe you have the same frustration,
Okay.
you know,
Yes,
but the people felt that. I think it was a very real thing.
Well,
And
and
so I'm sympathetic with Stacy's comments here, but I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I appreciate it, and I take it all in a positive way. I'm not, when I respond to you, please, I'm not, but hindsight is 20/20, like they say. Maybe there may some decisions I would have made differently at the time, but with the facts that you're giving and you're seeing what's going on, and never having gone through this before, and they just removed an entire school board, and for all intents and purposes, once you get rid of that school board, they can't spend any money. Okay, that's one function of the school board. They're the ones that can approve what's going to happen with that money. And when that's told to you by an attorney or a attorney school board member, I go on the best information that I have on hand. That's what all these guys do when they're on the council. Look, if it changes the next month, we couldn't help that. And I'm glad that they were resurrected, so to speak, and they came whole. But at that time, with that information, we did the best thing. And let me say this right now, for all those that remain here, anytime we did something, it was with the kids' best interest. And you might just smile and think that that's just some cute little thing for us to say, but let me tell you that it's not so now. That I believe that. And we have to, we're human, okay? And if I made a mistake, I made a mistake. But I'm telling you that every time we do this, and you're tremendous when you make the right decision, and when you don't, you're like everything you've accomplished for the kids out the window.
I would just like for people in authority here, state, national, to say they made COVID policies based on financial decisions that had nothing to do with the kids. The kids are still masked on the school buses, but they don't have to be masked on at school. Why? Because it's federally funded school buses, federal public transportation, they have to be masked. That has nothing to do with their safety. The kids know that. They see that. They saw that with the adults in this town. The hypocrisy across the board, all the way around. But they saw parents standing up and speaking up for them. Nothing from the leadership. And so that's all I'll say about that. But please don't say this was for the kids' benefit. It was not for their safety. It would have been maybe for the adults in their life, for their safety, protect their health. Nothing for the kids. Nothing on that side of the kids. I cannot hear that one more time without going crazy. We can just all admit it was for the adults. Whatever decisions were made policy-wise for finances or maybe for the safety adults, which I'll even question that, but it had nothing to do with the health of the kids. Nothing. So I won't say anything else because I don't want to keep taking up time, but did you have a question about the
Thank you, ma'am,
businesses?
for telling me.
I asked another candidate, but just with, obviously we've got a refinery, which is Holly Energy, Holly Frontier. So we've got some big EOG.
Yes, sir.
And just kind of that interaction. I don't know what happens now. I don't know the interface with this account, these big companies, but the way they seem to be going more corporate, and it's not saying anything about the people that work there. The people that are here, the salt of the earth, they're great, and they support the local communities. But it seems like, especially with the refinery, they're starting to use outside vendors. Even over in Midland, Odessa, they're going to different places outside of this community to supply. So I guess my question is, you as mayor, would that be a priority? To make sure that we're supporting them, but they're supporting us.
I think that's a very excellent question, and yes, I think that would be definitely would be something that we should consider.
Were you even aware of that?
What?
Were you even aware of that? Unless you're in the industry, you don't know
Well,
that, you know what I mean?
yeah, and I think he's asking if I would be involved in that, yeah. If, once you learn that they're wanting to
Well,
go,
that's what I mean, if they inform
yes.
you,
Well, that's the thing, you establish, I think we should have established a relationship with them. I mean, that's gotta be the number one thing. I'm just saying, I mean, they're part of the community. I mean, they paid my way through summers, working summers there to go to college. And I had family working and stuff like that.
I'll give you an example I thought, as I observed, watched it happen with good leadership from the mayor, Mayor Birch. Holly decided, remember they got that building in the shopping center there, and they've got Operation Pipelines from there. This is phenomenal, where they run all that stuff from. And they had a lot of employees, and they were doing accounting services and all that kind of stuff. So the word gets out. Somebody in Holly, I don't know how Mayor Birch found out about it. They were planning on moving that whole blooming office to Dallas. Okay? But he went back. He really did. He did a heck of a good job. I was real proud of him. Because he convinced people, okay, you're gonna send everybody to Dallas, and they're gonna walk into your office building, and then they're gonna get to looking around and then walk down the street and get a better job for 2 cents more an hour. How are you gonna keep those people? You can keep them in Artesia because of the community and their ties here and all that. And it was a good question. You know what you want about? They're still out there. And that to me is a really good example of how leadership can step up and walk against the flow and pull something off. It was amazing. And, so anyway, that's just, I'm gonna have to go. I'm thinking,
Thank you for coming.
well, it's good to see you.
It's a,
Thank you, good luck. Boy, and I've got one other comment. I was astounded in the discussion that took place. I was, sorry, I got a sleep cramp. With the police chief and with fire chief Hope, unbelievable, really good people, and fighting for their first responders. There's a difference, and I know if you're a city clerk, you may not think like this, but there is a difference between first responders, and that includes the EMTs. Then there is somebody who's sitting behind a desk all day long. It's just a fact of life. Whose lives are on the line when things get tough? Do you call up the city clerk and somebody's robbing you or trying to break into your house? No, you don't, or there's a fire. And, but what we found was there's a resistance to going and helping the first responders without doing exactly the same thing for the city clerks. That's an old thing in Artesia. And it's something, when you talk about the tough decisions, you're gonna have to be faced as a mayor. And I just wanted to point that out to you, because I was surprised at the reaction of the council, and particularly the city employees that we deal with on that issue. So, there's something.
thank you.
Good to see you.
Let's see.
I have a question, or something that we're gonna switch the subject here. We talked about affordable housing. I've lived here my whole life. My family is from here. My uncle Billy, that was my uncle Billy.
Yes.
So affordable housing here is $2,400 a month. And you got
Thank you for coming.
mothers
Thank you.
with kids that can't afford it. What is your look on the people that can't afford it? I mean, people are moving out, you know what I mean? They're moving to Roswell because it's cheaper and everything here is just sky high because of Flexi, I'm guessing.
Yes. Well, you hit it perfectly. I think that, the decent houses that are available, right? And that's again, it's one of those that does the city council want to get involved with telling people what they can do with their house? Okay, if they had a house that you wanted to fix up and rent out to Flexi, they're going, my understanding, they go anywhere between $1,500 to $3,000 rent. just because it's a FLETC ready or whatever they're calling it. And then I heard, on the other side, if we build, we got to get somebody, and that's why I wish Rob was here, because that seems like the economic development guy that needs to be finding out places that'll do it, like the Roselawn Manor. That's, I think, almost full, but they like that place. It's decent and it's reasonable, and they want to do that. Something like that would be what I would recommend. But what the city, we have some, and maybe Councilor Jared might have some. I don't know offhand numbers how many vacant lots we have.
Well,
But
just so y'all know, there are some things going on. The city had been approached by an affordable housing project that was supposed to bring in an extra 200 units for people to live in. That's supposed to be kind of like Roswell Manor, where you got the. We're trying to get there. And it just is, and it's like I said, it was kind of funny the other day. We had a lady in, and she's going, well, they got all the new builds going on out there, and they're $400,000 houses, and who can afford that and all that? But they're selling, and so that means that that part of the housing market is working. We also have to kind of figure out this other piece of it, and it's trying to attract those people here is where I feel like the city and the new mayor is really going to have to focus on. Is there land that we can either donate like Roselawn Manor or help fix or and do something, because personally as a councilor I don't really want to be in the rental business. My wife is a realtor, and I hear all that fun stuff all the time, and I'd rather that be like base farmed out basically. And what Lisa said was I agree with on that side of it. I hope that helps a little bit. But no, it's the longest process. It's amazing how I didn't know anything about city council before I was a city councilor, and with that being the case, it's interesting how many more moving parts there are than we should just fix it. And it's like you said, it does take some time, but we are trying to figure out how to get more affordable housing done.
So anyway, all those are reasons. I mean, there are places like that piece of land like towards Tractor Supply, turning that into that, but it's working with Chamber of Commerce. I mean, because the city, we can put in the water lines and all that, but if they have to, the contractor has to want to use that piece of land for that, and when they can sell them and they're getting, like we just said, $400,000, $500,000 homes. But what we can look at is the ones, if there are, did you know what number how many vacant spots we have in town? Just half a dozen even, or something like that. Like we could, because if we could get a Habitat for Humanity, we'd really do a real good. I'm thinking we could do a real good deal for them and get somebody in a little house, but a good house. I think that's what we should do, because those vacant lots, they're just getting weeds, and you just brought up the weed thing. Right. So it would solve two problems there, see. So anyway, thank you guys for coming. I know I kept you into your nap now after the pizza, but
It's
I
just the
appreciate you.
retired for that. So I can see that.
Can I ask you a question too?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if you guys will have an answer maybe later on.
You're Frank's sister, right?
Yeah, I am. I won't go back. Nice to
Good to see you.
As far as wanting to keep the money in Artesia.
Thank you, Kimberly.
As far as wanting to keep the money in Artesia, it's always going to Roswell or Carlsbad because
Thanks for coming in.
because restaurants are always open.
Yep.
Or they have other things for the kids or other things for people to do.
Right.
What do we need to do to keep the money in Artesia?
Any suggestions, anybody? I mean, you know,
Are you talking about restaurants or?
Anything to keep the money in Artesia, 'cause it seems like it's always going to Roswell or Carlsbad, but yet they want us to spend our money and keep it here. But
And
there's
yet you
nothing
go
here.
downtown and there's
There's
nothing
nothing
there.
but office buildings. I worked on
I
Main
should
Street
remember when
and
I was young, it was neat. It
everything's
was
full.
booming.
yeah,
But you always got to remember, if a company can't make money, they're not gonna open there.
Right.
That's.
I understand that.
And Artesia is not one of those money generating places.
Right.
It's just the way it is.
There's money to be spent.
Yeah, there is money to be spent, but it has to be a constant. That's just like this IHOP. You go over to this IHOP, I don't go there, but anyway, you go over there. I mean, you look at the parking lot, there's 4 or 5 cars the majority of the time, probably workers, maybe 2 of them are workers, somebody
Right.
stops there. But it can't generate enough money. I don't know what the owner's doing as far as it might be a write-off thing for him, I don't know. I have a friend that has a bunch of Subways and IHOPs, Northwest Texas, eastern part of New Mexico. I asked him about putting an IHOP here 10 years ago. Not enough through traffic and not enough people. They're in it to make money, just like Popeyes.
Yeah.
That's a different thing. But I think it'll do well just because of what it is.
Right.
But it's still, the majority of those companies, they don't just go places because people want them there. They go there to make money.
I understand that.
And then you have to look at the level of employable people. Are you gonna get that great employee, or are you gonna have to always struggle? Because you can't make money if you don't have people in there. Well, heck, we're suffering that now. Place La Fauna, I heard, closed down the other day because they didn't have enough people to work.
That's fact, yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. When you're looking at small town America, it's great. However, they're not looking at small town America as we're looking at it. They're looking at it as far as what kind of money can make.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Holland, where people were speaking of them moving people to Dallas. Well, a lot of people did go to Dallas because they wanted to go to Dallas. But business-wise, it was better for them to leave this place here because a lot of those people they wanted to move weren't going to move. Now they're in a situation where they got to go out there and try to find employees that would be, 10, 15 years experience that they had here that they didn't go to Dallas. It was a business move to keep those people here. It wasn't just because they might have lost them in Dallas or this, that, and the other. It was because it made more sense, business sense. And that's what I mean, all those companies, that's what it's about. You don't go into business. I don't rent houses just to rent houses. I rent houses to make money.
But you would think that the restaurants would want to stay up and look at Los Agaves, they open up, they're like that all the
Yeah.
time.
oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, so.
We went to IHOP the other
They
day.
have workers, great
That's when
food.
nobody was here. We were trying to go to IHOP. So we're walking in the parking lot. The manager met me and she said,
We don't have workers.
yeah, we don't have workers. So, and we can't even get a cup of coffee. I said, do you have some coffee? I mean, yeah, we won't take my I like the coffee, you almost want to make your own cup. But they said, no, if you come back at 2, we'll have some workers.
When they first started,
It's sad.
they provided, which they still do, I'm sure, for Veterans Day. Veterans eat breakfast free, whatever. I love IHOP. I eat at IHOP all over the nation, except for here. I went there,
You guys
and I got cold toast.
have any questions? If I can help you, I
Anytime
will.
you have
If not, I'll tell you. I don't know the answer. I'll get it for you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for coming very much. I appreciate it.
At the restaurant first.
Right.
I mean, it's just, I did a lot of years in New Orleans. Service was great. Their whole thing is service industry, so they're on top of it. You don't have your stuff together, you're not in business. I'm accustomed to that. I don't go to restaurants in Artesia because I don't receive what I'm looking for.
Right.
I have nothing against it. But,
I understand you.
yeah,
I do.
I mean, and Artesia is a great draw in actuality, but shit, to get somebody to go to work, because we're constantly, with Rob Wapner, and the city council, we're constantly trying to bring businesses into the community. Restaurants, anything that would generate employment opportunities on and on and on. But it's hard.
People in our district doesn't want to work.
It's not just Artesia.
Yeah, well,
It's a
everywhere,
nationwide problem right now.
right down, and it's
Where you
it's going down to me.
going to work? See, yeah, I know, I'm one of them that don't work. But no, that's the main problem, trying to get kids here.
Right.
You got always think they got money.
Oh, yeah.
Great, we'd love for you to get your PRT out of what we make, but we want to make some. They can make money.
You don't make money or lose it.
I will not do it. That's why, which I thought it should have been Home Depot. No, Artesia's been the best spot because people can go all through the city.
Right.
We're sitting in the middle. But you're gonna also have to get employees from Ross and cause that because of that lack of employable individuals, or those individuals that don't want to work for, at that time, $12, $13 an hour, it was off, it was 25,
Right.
you know, whatever.
Yeah, but still, the money would still be coming into our fees.
Yeah.
You know, that's a plus and a negative right there.
But in order to get that business, you gotta,
Yeah.
like Albuquerque, they do a lot of incentive stuff, some people share. Facebook server farm, $6 billion project. Doesn't require a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that
Generate a lot of money in schools to the state, you know, they get their little GRT and on and on and on.
Yeah.
But when somebody is doing that, when you're talking about some major money, well, that's when you give them incentives. You know. We could do it here, but it's not gonna benefit overall.
Yeah.
My thing is, we just, the workforce is what. I don't even wanna get on that, I ain't even talking out as a council, I'm just talking about as a citizen.
Right, right.
Uh,
I understand.
I'm real particular, yeah. I'm real particular.